Hi, my name is Ray Wayne Gonzalez. Join me in my journey out of ignorance with things you pretend to know about, where we talk about things we think we might know, but really we have no idea.
Things you pretend to know about. Things you pretend to know. Things you pretend to know about. Things you pretend to know.
Hey everyone, welcome to Things You Pretend to Know About, or welcome back to Things You Pretend to Know About. Today on the show, I'm so excited. It was such a cool, fun conversation for me to have. We're talking about drag and drag culture, which is so great. It's such a fun topic. And I talk to two drag queens, one being Victoria Precise, who you may recognize his voice from the LGBTQ plus episode of Things You Pretend to Know About. You might recognize his voice as Michael in the episode. And we also have Venus Fantasy and a drag king named Ponii, who, if you're a little confused by that phrase, you'll learn all about it. Don't worry about it, because you're going to learn all about it in this episode. He really goes in depth and tells me about show kings. And don't worry, I didn't know either. I didn't know much about it until Michael was like, whoa. Don't just say drag queens. There are drag kings too, okay? And I was like, all right. Now I know. And I learned all about it. And it was really, really interesting. So yeah, they told me all about drag culture. They told me all about the do's and don'ts of going to a drag show, which I think everyone can benefit from. Everyone who frequents drag shows, or if you're going to a drag show for the first time, or you're thinking about going to a drag show, it's important to listen to this because now you know how to act, you know? And we talk about how they came into drag, how they started drag, and it's just so interesting. There's so much more to drag than what we see on TV. So I love this episode, and I really think you guys will learn a lot and love this episode too. Okay, thank you again to everyone who was on the show. Okay, thank you. Love you. Bye. So, we're talking about drag culture today, and I'm with, does everyone want to introduce themselves?
Surely. Hi, I'm Victoria Precise, or Michael.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Venus, or GK.
And I am Ponii, or Milo.
Milo, I love it.
Thank you.
I all your names.
Thank you.
So,
Name like Michael.
so we're here. We broke into my old college campus, your current college campus, so it's okay.
It's a security breach.
I still have my school ID on me just in case.
Yeah, they don't know
the
the
discount.
difference.
They will not know. Yeah. So I wanted to ask, first and foremost, how did you guys all get into drag?
Who would like to start?
Okay.
Go down the line.
Yeah, mother.
My really close friend, Regine, showed me RuPaul's Drag Race. And she was like, this show you would really like. And then I became obsessed with the show.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to put makeup on. And I had dabbled in playing with makeup before then. I just didn't know it was drag. I didn't know there's a whole culture around it.
Yeah.
So I would go over and stay the night at her house, watch Drag Race, and we'd get each other into makeup and dresses and shit. And then she encouraged me to go to school one day in drag.
Yeah.
So I did that.
Nice.
And I was
how did that go?
It was mixed reactions. It was hilarious to be in my hallway in my school hallway in 5-inch heels,
As college or?
No, this is high school. I was 17.
Wow.
Yeah.
Work.
Okay, so yeah, 17 years
Yes.
old in my conservative high school, the only gay person out, and obviously in drag, so it was cute.
Yeah, you may know Michael from the LGBTQIA+ episode.
Podcast, yes. If this voice is familiar. So yeah, and then after that, I just did makeup in my bathroom for years, and I didn't have any like reference of like what drag was because I didn't have the internet and I didn't have like
Okay,
too
yeah.
many people around me. But eventually, I found my way into the scene,
Yeah.
and
All of your makeup is incredible. How did you guys kind of figure out? Because like I don't know if I could figure out how you guys do that out. It's amazing.
Thankfully, in this day and age, there's YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, those YouTube videos and pictures, you get to studying those, you really get to like work with
Yeah.
lines and colors and hearing the tips and tricks of like, oh, this is what you should do. This is the problem you're having here. Or this is how you should glue down your brows. And
Yeah.
just hearing all these things. And it's just kind of like, it works. It works.
Yeah.
So we've got access to that if you're fortunate.
Yeah, I
enough.
feel like everyone's nailed it here. So,
Thank you.
so how did you get into drag?
So I was also exposed to RuPaul's Drag Race by like one of my good friends, Emily, and she showed me that and also became obsessed. The thing that really pulled me in was Jujubee and the famous read of there's a reading challenge in RuPaul's Drag Race, and
Okay.
Jujubee has won that challenge, and she it started with Miss Tyra, is your barbecue cancelled? Your grill is fucked. And I was just like, what is this nonsense?
And I love it.
And I love it. And I've been like, I've just kept watching. And then one day at Westchester Community College, a school that I went to.
Yeah, shouts out WCC.
Shouts out to WCC. We had our first drag show. They were like, we put that together, and I helped put it together with the Queer Club on
That's
campus. And we had Fifi O'Hara come through. She was fresh off her season, or a little less fresh, maybe like I don't know,
Maybe like
semi-fresh.
Yeah.
Semi-fresh. And she was there. She did a great job. She was very sweet, very nice. I wasn't in drag. I was thinking about it, but never really getting into it. But
Yeah.
we had a Q&A at the end of the show, and she
Cool.
answered this question, and as soon as she was done answering, she like stopped and she looked at me and she goes, "Do you do drag?" And I said, "No, I don't. I've thought about it, but I don't know. I don't know."
Yeah.
So she goes, "I think you'd be amazing at it." And I was just like, "Oh."
She was right.
Wow, what an incredible way to start out, huh?
Yeah, and then after that, I like got into it.
That's amazing.
Yes, and it's been quite the journey ever since.
Bonnie hasn't done the same.
My knees are destroyed.
So, Milo, how'd you get into it?
So, I actually started coming to shows here about like 2 summers ago.
It's been 2 years.
Oh God. But I'm actually approaching my 1-year drag anniversary next month, which is really fun.
Yay!
But I just started coming into shows, and I was so interested in it. And like from the first time I saw, I think it was the Amanda show that I came to actually.
You guys did a show like
It was an
Sunday.
Amanda
Themed
themed
around
show.
you.
That's
And it was at Bangkok, and I was crammed into this tiny little restaurant with like, I don't know how many other people, and it was
So many.
sweaty and misty, but it was the most fun I ever had in my life.
Yeah.
And like I was watching everybody, I was like, oh my God, I want to do this. Like, and I was like so intimidated by just like everyone. I didn't even want to like talk to anyone. I only talked to Strawberry because that was the only one that didn't scare me.
Okay.
Like, not scary. I was like, oh, like I'm scared. I just literally like never presented with like such confidence before. So I was like, I don't know how to handle this. I'm going to recede. But
Retract.
yeah, I started. I started just like going to shows more and more and just becoming like more interested. And every single time I like went to a show, I just kept on like having this like urge to be like, I have so many ideas. I want to do this. Like, I don't even know how to get started. I started like pestering my friend Strawberry just like a little bit every so often. Like, so like, how did you get into it? How did you start?
Yeah.
Until finally she was like, okay, well, yeah, like I'll just like show you what to do. But it was funny because she was like, I can't teach you anything because you're already better than me at makeup. So I'll just like give you a gig and like let's see how it goes. I was like, okay. And I performed at a tiny little house show and it was so much fun. And here I am.
What's the first performance like? Do you guys remember? Like,
It was
so I would be so nervous.
scary. It was really scary because I'd never done anything like that before.
Yeah.
I like Because I never like did like theater, because like a lot of like people who like in drag like have like either like theater training or like were like a performer in like some way before.
Yeah.
But like I had never done that. I was just in like one play in high school, and then just like getting in front of like not even like that big of a crowd, but just like a bunch of people in like a tiny little living room. It was like the most intimidating thing, but I was like also like so excited, and I had never felt that way before. It was usually
It's like
just
a
like
certain adrenaline.
yeah,
to
it was like I just had like so much anxiety usually, but there was like anxiety but also adrenaline, so it was just kind of like,
Right.
let's go.
I gotta do it now. Yeah.
Now it's like completely gone. Like now I just don't get nervous. I've now separated like my nervous feelings to just like excitement.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's very much just now like a rush.
And how did you pick your drag names? Was there a process behind that?
Oh, there's always a process. There's always a process to the drag names.
Tell us your movement.
Mike Terry.
Because you guys are considered drag queens.
Yes.
And you're
I'm a drag king.
king.
I'm a drag
Yeah.
king, yeah.
Which I didn't even, a lot of people I don't think know about.
People don't
because
know
I
about
remember I
drag
was talking
kings.
to you and I was like,
Uh-huh.
I want to do an episode on drag queens. And he was like, there's also drag kings. Don't be dumb. And I was like, oh, okay.
Don't be dumb.
All sorts of
In so many
entertainers.
words. So how did you like
Finding the
find
name.
the name,
Oh,
the gender to your name, like?
my very first drag name was Ebony Splenda.
LOL.
Yes, my very first drag name was Ebony Splenda, but I was just like, one, I've heard like through the grapevine that there's a lot of like black drag queens with the name Ebony, and I was just like, well, I don't want to be another one of those. And,
Of course, yeah.
and it was, although it was like, I think it's still a really great drag name.
Yeah,
But,
it's awesome.
Classic.
Yes, one for the books. But I definitely, but Venus was something I stumbled upon because, one, I'm a hopeless romantic at heart. Two, really liked the name Venus, and I definitely wanted to go with something that was like goddess sort of thing, but also maybe something that could be gender fucked at sometimes. And plus all the white queens take Venus, so I was just like, I'm gonna take it from you now. But that's how my name's the process of my name was definitely like that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mine was given to me by my friend, also like big longtime friend, like over 10 years. He knew that I was like getting into drag in my bathroom in secret and just like not going anywhere. So he was like, you should have a name for like this persona. And I was like, maybe you're right. And he was like, how do you like Victoria? Because you're just like the way you carry yourself is like in just like a confident manner.
Yeah,
And
it's
plus,
like royalty.
like a royal like Queen Victorian name.
Yeah,
who,
yeah.
I really enjoy like her fashion input on like her dynasty. Not so much like what she did, but
Yeah, we don't talk about that.
she's kind of a
Too long
tyrant.
ago.
But she's a brat. But, and then he was like precise because like everything you do is done with like purpose and it's on point. And I was like, yeah, that makes
It
sense.
flows so well too.
It does. It has a ring to it.
Yeah.
And then eventually I put Indigo as my middle name because indigo is just like a really like mysterious color, which like
Yeah.
has like representation in like the spiritual realm.
I love
And then
that.
also it makes my initials VIP, which I think is like really cheeky.
So much.
She's also colorblind.
I love that.
I don't even know what the color indigo looks like. I have no idea.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Method.
That is so funny. And how did you land on show Ponii?
So I my friend who I've been friends with for basically like almost my entire life, they gave me my original name that I used to go by. I used to go by Mikey, and I changed it to Milo because reasons. But they also gave me my drag name because I was looking for something. I didn't want something gendered, and like this is like nothing against any other drag kings, but I usually hate a lot of drag king names because it's like Dick Richardson or something.
Right, right. It's very.
I'm like, and I'm like, as like a trans, I'm like, I hate that. Like, I hate anything like genital based, especially since like I'm a trans performer and like I'm very much like try to put that into my drag. I didn't want anything gendered, like, because I didn't want my drag to be gendered despite being a king. So
Right.
I was like, I want to find something that's like,
It's like an announcement.
Yeah.
Dick Richards.
Dick Richardson. Like some of them are funny, and I was like, okay, but some of them are just like, it's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, but so I was like, they're like going through names of me, and they're like, oh, what about Show Pony? And I was like, that's nice. Where is that from? And they're like, oh, do you remember that My Chemical Romance music video?
Yes.
With the that one guy who was on the roller skates, the leggings, and had like the big helmet on, was like skating around, like causing like disaster. And I was like, oh my God, that's perfect for me. And I was like, this is
That's
perfect. So that's how I got onto that, and here I am.
That's incredible. I was just listening to my pop punk playlist on the way here.
Chemical Romance trash. Fantastic.
Listen, you.
So I was wondering where you get your influences from your performances. I've seen you perform. I haven't seen you guys perform yet. But I've seen you, especially in your him outfit from Powerpuff Girls.
Days.
Yeah, that was like when I was in college. When I was in college, way back. But so where do you? Because I don't feel like when people think of drag, I feel like it's very like femme and very like people think like Dolly Parton and like Tina Turner, you know. I don't think people
classic
like that was
queens.
so incredible to me because I've never experienced or seen anything like drag that was like a character, like an evil villain, and like you made it so fabulous. Like, how did you think to do that?
Well, I think drawing from those like classic inspirations like Dolly Parton, like Donna Summers,
Yeah.
Madonna, like that's like a classic foundation of drag, and pulling from femme energy is very crucial to the art of drag.
Yeah.
Because femme energy is the tea. And it's
Yeah.
like what at its root, it's like what a drag queen is trying to do. That definition has transformed though completely. So that's where influences like from a TV show come in. So like I just like allow my brain to be open to whatever inspirations there are.
Yeah.
And him is, I would say, if like I had to brand Victoria Precise into like a box, like she's some sort of like villain who's very psychotic.
Cartoon character.
Like if she was a cartoon character, she'd be him.
Yeah.
So like
I mean, him is like the like gender non-conforming
Yep,
like
right.
icon that we're all waiting for. You know?
exactly, and like
We didn't even know it when we
The
were
true
7.
hero.
Right?
yeah, my aim in drag is to not be a woman. Like it's weird to look at me and like and be like chest hair, big butt, hourglass, facial hair, like
Yeah, I mean,
it's all a mixed medium.
yeah.
So
So when you think of like everyone, like when you think of your characters or like what you're trying to portray in your performance, like where does that because you have to probably plan before you perform, no? so
smart
how's
entertainer
like
would.
so how's like the planning process? Like how do you come up with what you're going to do that night?
Sometimes we have themes of our shows, and that really helps
Yeah.
with like getting something a bit more concrete down. And then sometimes you don't. Sometimes we're just having a show, and then you have to come up with something. And
Right.
there's a lot to pull from. I know I get my drag definitely from. I definitely, when I started watching like RuPaul's Drag Race, I wanted to learn more about certain things. So
Yeah.
I think one of the very first queens that I stumbled upon like via YouTube was this performer called Tandy Amon Dupree,
Okay.
and she's known as Wonder Woman in the world of drag, and she has like the most famous entrance in possibly the world, where she falls from the ceiling and lands right into a split, going straight into I Need a Hero.
Amazing.
And it was like, it's the most
Every time I see
jaw-dropping
it.
thing. You
Insane.
never get tired of it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, damn. That's tea. Like that's the way
That's
to do
the
it.
tea.
That's the tea. And it was so like powerful. So I definitely pull inspiration from because I've also thought of drag performers as people who've done great things for the community.
Yeah.
So I've definitely pulled from like a political stance and aspect of things because drag is political, and a lot of what you do in drag is always going to be a political stance, even if you don't intend it to be.
Yeah.
Because you're literally spitting in the face of society doing what you're doing and going against the norm.
Yeah.
A little less these days, which is great because I'm sure that's a lot of what those before us have really tried to push for. So there's definitely that. And another one is definitely Black artists and Black people, because I am a Black queen. Hello. You couldn't tell. So, and I've definitely pulled from, because the bass, I've definitely pulled from artists like Beyonce, Whitney Houston, I'm trying to think of other ones that I really do. Jennifer Hudson. There's definitely the base of like femme energy, as Victoria was saying before, that you pull from. And then definitely being a product of the 90s, where you're pulling from like cartoon characters, Disney, all these other crazy things that are just coming into play. And genderfuck is definitely something that we all aspire to here.
So what is so that's when you hear gender fuck, you said?
Yeah, genderfuck is just like no binary, no like
It's like you're blurring a lot of lines.
blurring lines.
Okay, yeah. And that's
like
what
a
you're
constant
that's like
theme.
a goal.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Okay.
Yeah,
It's
Depends on
definitely
the person.
something in our
some,
troop,
yeah.
but with
Yeah.
our specific group,
Yeah.
we definitely do gender
I
fuck
feel
a
like
lot.
the New
Yeah.
Paltz drag scene is very different than what I've seen. It's like kind of like a form of art when I see it on videos and anything.
We're
like,
definitely trying to look more like drawings than we are trying to look like actual
people.
Yeah, actual people.
Yeah.
We show up and there, people are like, what is that? We all just walk in and people are like a doodle bob or something.
And it's definitely for some of us, I know myself included, like sometimes it's hard to, I wouldn't say hard, but sometimes it's hard to not look. Well, no, Kat definitely looks pretty very Juana all the time.
Ariana Grande?
Yeah, Ariana Grande, Lady Gaga. But we've all done something that it's just not like the norm that you would see on like a feminine figure or a masculine figure or anything like that. We just break away from that. So that's also really great. I've learned a lot from my mother over here. And I've learned a lot from Show Ponii, and we all learn from each other, and it's really great, actually.
Yeah, Show Ponii, when I've seen your makeup and your like whatever you're dressed in at the time, like it's always like your face is always like really like a piece of art. It's like it looks like a painting on your face.
It's kind of my goal.
How did you get that figure out that aesthetic that you wanted?
So when I first started drag, I thought, I have to look like a man. So I was like looking like everybody's like Puerto Rican Theo or something. Like it was like I looked really masculine. I was like, I'm so bored with this.
Are you Puerto Rican?
I am. Yeah. Both our dads are Puerto Rican.
Yes.
But like I thought that I had to like fit into like the binary of just like masculinity, and that made me so uncomfortable because like me as a trans person, like I still, despite like being like a trans man and like presenting masculine, I still am femme.
Yeah.
And like I embrace that side of me.
Right.
And I didn't want to be ashamed of that. And I really don't like how, and especially in the drag king scene, like it's supposed to be kings who try and make fun of toxic masculinity end up embracing it and like pushing it further. And I really don't like that.
Yeah.
And with what I wanted to do, I really wanted to like start just like, again, like bringing in like gender fuckery and like blurring lines, but also bringing in like representation, because my transness is very much at the forefront of my identity. And I wanted to bring that forward even more because, you know, trans people are swept under the rug most of the time.
Yeah.
So like it's amazing to see shows like Pose where there's a cast of trans women, especially Black trans women. Like I never thought I would see that in my lifetime.
Yeah.
You and me both.
I think that's like a good thing to promote because I don't like you're the first trans person that I've seen in the drag culture.
Yeah.
Granted, I don't
But
know
it's
that much
so
about
much,
drag.
Like
Drag-
trans people
drag.
actually like they were at the forefront of drag and
made
like
this.
they
Yes.
they
They
literally
did. They
made
really did.
drag because that's what it was. Where for a lot of people, especially trans people, not everyone, but trans people kind of use drag sometimes as a medium to push their own gender and be like, okay, well, maybe I'll put on the wig or maybe I'll like, like bind my chest and just see how that feels. And you end up figuring out a lot about yourself. But for me, when I get into drag, I always like, I like looking like a thing, but I also love like throwing in aspects where it's like my face looks crazy and like it looks like demonic, and then I'll have my flat chest, and sometimes I'll throw in a lot of like drag kings use packers. I don't usually, but so if I do, it's usually for like a gag where I'm like ripping it off. But,
Yeah, I love that.
or like I'll have like this huge like hourglass figure, and like I love that, and I really love like bringing like different aspects, and people go up to me like, oh, you look like a woman, and I'm like, well, I'm not that, and they're like, okay, so you're a man. I was like, yeah, I am. But I love just like bringing more representation, because I've gotten a lot of flack where it's like, well, you don't pack, you if you want to be a drag king, you're doing masculinity. I was like, well, I'm a man, I don't have a penis, like
Yeah.
it's like I'm a man, I have curves, and like I have all these things, so I try and bring that representation more.
Yeah, and I think that's
Yeah.
important for like everyone in between like
Well,
any
yeah.
gender or like whatever, however they identify.
Yeah.
If they don't have someone to look to, and I think like you would be someone to look, like draw inspiration from, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
but like I love seeing it because like queens, like you said, like with the chest hair and everything else, where it's like, oh well, I can't look like a woman if I have a beard, but there's actually like like cis women who do have that because of like conditions and everything, and like it is like a representation where
Right.
you might not think it, but to somebody in the crowd, they could be like, oh my god, you have a beard, like I have that, like you're still authentic to me
Right,
or something,
right,
even though
right.
if you're not even trying to like push that. So
Yeah.
I really like going out there and either scaring people or having people look at me and be like, oh my god, this inspires me, and
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
I wanna, like I love
Fantasy.
like I love when people are like, you make me want to do drag. I'm like, yes, please do it. Like I get so excited when people tell me that.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And like comments like that, like you don't wear a packer, you must not be in drag.
Yeah.
Like really is revealing to how people are so conformed to this
Especially,
binary.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
the binary is real.
I've gotten so
very
much
real.
people like, you're wearing a corset, you can't be a drag king. And I was like, somebody
Right.
made a comment once where it's like, voguing isn't part of drag king culture. And I'm like, excuse me? I'm sorry. Like, it was, there's like so much like going on where I've seen like both like cultures where it's like, you can't do this, you can't do a lot of gatekeeping. It's like, you could do whatever you want.
Yeah, where are the
do
rules?
whatever.
Like,
And
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the fun of drag. It's fun. You can
Exactly.
do whatever your little heart desires.
There's
I mean,
no rules. Don't be an
maybe
idiot.
not.
Don't be an asshole, but,
maybe
like-
not every little thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Blackface, but
Yeah. Totally
Right.
Does
blackface.
that happen?
yes,
Yes.
it has happened.
There was actually a drag king down south. I'm part of a drag king group, and they posted a video where it's like, and they like kicked the guy out of the group, where he went out in full blackface and started doing like a very racist thing, and they cut his like set 30 seconds in and like shoved him off the stage, and like he wasn't allowed in back in, and I was like, oh my god, and it was like full blackface,
Bold.
like
and it's, these things do happen, and
Yeah.
I'm all for not policing somebody's art, but I'm also not for blatantly
Yeah.
racist things, which unfortunately has become quite more apparent in the drag world. It's definitely under a microscope where you're seeing a lot of these gatekeepers, also these racist gatekeepers, just show their true colors, and they'll police a lot of things. They'll say a lot of awful things, yeah,
Wow, it's everywhere, huh?
it's
You wouldn't
everywhere.
Even think.
It's
yeah.
everywhere.
racism and transphobia are very
Oh,
prevalent.
In the drag
Very
culture.
prevalent, despite it being black trans women who started it. So it's
Right.
it's funny how
I wouldn't
that's-
think that at all.
Oh, but it is.
Yeah.
Oh, but
Yeah.
it is.
yeah.
And
And
it's, go on.
sorry, no, not to even speak out of place because I'm a white cis man, but
No, you're
like
Puerto Rican.
present Puerto Rican. I'm not. I'm Italian.
It's a joke. It's a
That like not giving the credit to queer trans people who have paved the way for us goes right on back to like the binary and how instilled it is,
Yeah.
and it's like the fear of it and like the wanting to get rid of it. It's wanting to eradicate anything that's not part of the binary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially
Fucking
since
wild.
our only example is a show where they enforce that.
They do, and they have
Yeah.
enforced the binary there with RuPaul's
Let's
Drag
get
Race.
into that.
Yeah.
RuPaul's Drag Race has.
Drag Race is ruining
It's
drag.
done a lot of good, but
And
it's
a
also
lot of-
done a lot of damage.
Yeah.
I think
Interesting.
I think for anyone who has a little plug for a show that I think is definitely also worth watching, that I think is not really a product of RuPaul's Drag Race, but has definitely helped give it a better representation or attention anyway, is Dragula.
Yes.
Any fan
Love
of
it already.
any fan of RuPaul's Drag Race who maybe has been watching for a long time, and you're a fan of drag, and you see all the toxic stuff coming from both RuPaul's Drag Race and some of those negative RuPaul's Drag Race fans, I think Dragula is definitely the way to go. Dragula has they're basically the true essence of drag, where they're not focused on the binary and just the creative person
Okay.
and
Yeah.
what they're doing
they
and
look
how
Like the art of it all.
the art
Yeah.
of it all. And the Dragula season 3 is coming out soon.
And they openly are like trying to be like, oh, we want drag kings, we want trans people, like
I love that.
we want this. Because they're looking for a drag monster instead of like a
Yes.
drag thing. It's definitely more spooky and not for everyone because it's slightly violent, but the
Where do
drag,
you watch it?
YouTube.
Okay.
But
okay, cool.
the looks and like the drag that you see on there is absolutely incredible.
It is.
Like-
It is. And yes, it is spooky, and I think they might be able to. I think with season 2 we got to see a bit of mix of everything,
Yeah.
which was really nice because I know season 1 was definitely spook.
Yes.
Definitely spook. In season 2 you got a mix of all sorts of things, but if you really want to see people like drag art at its finest, like
Where there's no rules.
where there's no rules, like sort of like early RuPaul's Drag Race, where from like season 1 to season 4,
Yeah.
like where they were still focused on the art of drag.
Instead of being
Right.
like, oh, woman,
Yeah.
do this comedy challenge.
But,
like,
Right,
but Dragula is kind of just like now they're focused on the art of drag and less about
Yeah.
it being a reality TV show. And I think that's, if you're just a quick plug to Dragula and those fans of drag.
If you ever had a chance to get on Dragula or RuPaul, would you? Or would
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I would do both.
Yeah.
I think first thing I would definitely do is I would get on RuPaul's Drag Race. And then second, I would try and audition for Dragula. Mostly because RuPaul's Drag Race is definitely a way to, you get on that show and depending on how well you do, your career is basically set for a while. You're set for a while. And Dragula, I would do second because one, I'd have more money to properly compete in that full-on drag competition, which sounds weird to say because you would probably want more money for RuPaul's Drag Race,
but Dragula, the challenges are so much more diverse.
and they give you so much more time
Yeah.
to be
Oh, really?
into, like
Yeah.
really get your look together. So I think that's why I would want more money for Dragula more
Yeah.
than anything, because Dragula also kind of reminds me of the drag scene here
Definitely.
in New Paltz, where there's a full concept,
Yeah.
and bringing that to life is also possibly one of my favorite parts of drag.
Yeah.
Like, if you ask the drag form what their favorite part of drag, I think mine's is definitely the finished product.
Yes.
Like, I love thinking about that moment, but like when it's finally on stage, whether it took you weeks or months to prepare for it, or maybe just a couple of moments because something happened and you have to switch it up immediately. I think the finished product and how you execute it is really probably my favorite part of drag. I love seeing a performer who's thought of something and they bring it to life and it's right in front of you and you're just like, oh my God, wow.
It is so
Wow.
wow, right? It's so amazing.
Like that.
So I want to talk about like the do's and don'ts of going to a drag show because I feel like
How to be a proper audience member.
That's a great question. I was like, do's and don'ts of drag? Because like, you should just do everything.
yeah, no.
No.
Of going
my
to a
God.
drag show because I feel like maybe people could get inappropriate at
Absolutely.
It takes two to tango here at a drag show. It takes two to tango. As an audience member, you also have a job.
Huge role.
You have a huge role. It is no surprise that we are up there lip syncing, but you're coming to a show, and it's sort of like going to a theater show. You're there to suspend your belief for a moment, get into it, be excited. You know, if you've got a favorite performer up there, show them a little love, show the other performers some love, tip your performers, because that old tired drag out line, it takes a lot of money to look this cheap,
Yes.
is so real. It's so
Yeah, I have
real.
no money.
It's so real. Like, and almost every dollar that is made that a drag performer makes, and this goes for every drag performer. That includes the Rue girls. That includes the performers from Dragula. Like, every dollar that a drag performer makes goes back into their drag.
Right.
And it like that dollar is so important because it's just kind of like, this is what I can build off of now.
Yeah.
And looks are, you can create something out of nothing, absolutely, but like, you still need money to create something out of
I feel like
nothing.
there's so many things that you need to create the final look. Right?
Yeah.
And it's a lot. And you definitely be involved, definitely tip your performers. Do not touch without permission. This is a big thing, and like, in some inappropriate touching the hair, touching the body,
I've had
touching
people-
the face.
I've had people, the face.
The
Gets
face
me ruined.
I'm
Like,
just like, what are
there's
you
like sometimes
doing?
like during like a
How nice
performance,
makeup you have.
like there's like sometimes during performances where people like try and like come up to me and like put a tip like inside of my clothing, and like if it's my corset, that's fine, but I wear a chest binder, and my chest is the biggest no zone for me. For a lot of trans men, it's a huge no zone. I wear it to
course.
flatten. I don't wear it for aesthetic. I hate this. It's painful. But like, people will try and come up and put it into my binder, and immediately I'm ready to throw hands because I'm like, do not touch me.
Right, like,
do
this
not,
already hurts.
Yeah, and then I'm like, just give me the $5. Or like, if I'm in the mood, like sometimes people will be cute and like bring me like their money in their mouth, and I'm like, oh, okay. But sometimes I'm like, just give me the fucking, like, I'm like, just give it to me, go. Like, I don't need any of this. Like,
absolutely.
it depends like on like what the atmosphere is,
Mm-hmm.
but definitely don't touch your performers. Don't. I've almost gotten into a fight because some drunk girl tried to rip my friend's wig off, and like, you know, and I told her not to, and apparently I'm the asshole because she spit on me. But don't touch the hair, don't touch the face.
Right,
That's
those
the
wigs
biggest
are probably
thing.
expensive.
There's
the worst
something.
thing- Somebody came up to me at a show and was like, "Oh my God, so good to see you." Went in and then kissed me on my face, on my cheek, and I was like, and like,
face.
luckily I have like 50 pounds of like
Makeup.
Krylon on there, so that's not coming off. But it's like you could ruin that. I'm like,
Right.
do not. Like, I have more money on my face than in your paycheck. Don't touch me. Like, don't touch performers. Don't be rude. Don't argue with us. I've gotten to an argument on almost every single
hours.
show because people are like, "Yes, queen." I'm like, "I'm a man," and they're like, "Yeah, okay." I'm like,
They argued with him about being trans or about being a man, and I'm just like, what?
or about drag.
Or about drag, and I'm just
And I'm like, what do? You're not. You don't do it. You don't know it. Like,
Right.
your opinion, but no. Like,
It's like if you're telling the audience how you identify,
Exactly.
like, just respect it.
yeah.
Right.
What were you saying?
Oh, people pretend to know. I feel like Drag Race gives people like a
this
handbook.
license,
Yeah.
This
like
license
they
they know drag now because of this show that's
Right.
like
Yeah.
wrong in a lot of ways.
Right.
I've
Going
correct
up
people all the
against
time. Even like just like close people who are like, I think you should, or like classic that I've gotten, like, you should push yourself into like glamour. Don't you like need that? And I'm like, no. What are you talking about? like,
Oh gosh. Yeah, like why would they tell you? Like,
don't tell me how to do my art.
Policing.
My favorite thing is when people like come up to us and like compare us to Rue girls, where it's like, oh my God, you're like Sharon Needles, or like, oh my God, Shea Coulee, like,
Right.
literally, like, and I hate
Right.
that. I get compared to a lot of like spooky people, and it's not a compliment usually because it's annoying. And like people come up to me like, oh my God, Sharon Needles, and I'm like, she's racist, leave me alone. Like, or it's like, or you could call me by my name, and like you can recognize that this is my own art and that I don't need to be compared to somebody on TV.
right, and that's with any art, right?
It's very
Yes.
annoying, especially for you because you get compared to every black drag queen.
Every black
Every
drag
single
queen,
one.
and then every other black cis woman that's
Yeah.
in the media, and like, you know, some of these compliments that they give you. that it's sort of like that it's not. Sometimes it's not malice, but it's tiring because
Yeah.
and I bring this up because sometimes with the touching and the things, like as a performer, you get so used to it that sometimes you get numb to the touching. And that some of these people aren't trying to be malice, they're just in the fun of it, but it's still disrespectful.
Right.
And being called another person just because you look like either whether you look good or you look attractive in this sort of way, it's sort of just like, it's still not like great. It's disrespectful because it's just kind of like I'm my own person.
Yeah.
I've put my own look together. I've worked very hard.
These are my ideas.
Yeah.
This is all my work.
And I'm not trying to be somebody else. I'm trying to be me, and that's all it is.
It's like we definitely taken inspiration from performers.
Absolutely.
But I'm not actively like going out there being like, I want to look like RuPaul or like I want to look like Kimchi. Like I've like taken inspiration from different performers, but at the end, it's me. Like it's still me. I'm like, I like take inspiration from people, which all of us do. But then we always like put it back into ourselves and put our own twist and make it our own.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I wanted to have this episode, because I know very little about drag other than I know that I enjoy it, and I know you a little bit now. But I think it's never, a lot of the time, I'm sure you have heard people say mean things to you, and it's like obviously out of malice, but I think a lot of the time it's just out of ignorance, the things that they say, which is like the point of this podcast. So hopefully people hear this and be like, oh, I shouldn't do that,
It's and I'm sure a lot of it's very enticing to look at a drag performer.
Yeah.
There's a lot to look at. There's a lot of like, oh my God, there's this creature before me. And when you're in drag, there's definitely like an
air.
Yeah, there's a gravitas to you.
Wow.
there's just like there's so much going on, and we're definitely there to be gawked at. But
of course.
and like.
And you can ask permission to touch.
Yes. Yeah,
Ask permission.
Please
Like people are
ask
like,
first.
can I pick you up? Or is it okay if I take a picture with you and like kind of like make it like slightly inappropriate? I was like, thank you for asking. Yes or no, or like ask.
Yeah.
Because most of the time if you ask, we'll say yes. But ask, please.
Like one weird thing, you
That's how
wouldn't
you
just
get a
do
bit of
that to
respect.
anybody.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
People forget that we're also people.
Right.
So they just see this thing, they're like, oh my God, touch. Like,
Yeah, and that's like us. A lot of people probably see you guys as celebrities too, and like I'm sure that happens
There's
to
something
Beyonce,
there.
to all those people.
Oh yeah,
you know?
I think about especially the female celebrities where it's just kind of like, oh, you must get this like times 1,000.
Right.
Remember that there was that story that I'll never forget where Pink kind of got kidnapped by a fan.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
Pink was like, the fan walked up to her and was just like, can I get a picture? It's like, sure. And then the fan like grabbed her and was like, let's go to my house and take pictures with my family. She's like, what are you doing?
Oh my God.
Yeah, I feel like that even happens to YouTubers a lot. Like people like find their house. And
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
and
that's
like,
it's wild.
Yeah.
It's wild, and just like you don't think personal space is the thing. Like,
Right. You thought that was the best idea.
Yeah.
You're a performer. You're not anyone's friend. Not that you're
Yes.
not. You're not
And
people's friend.
right.
But
It's like I don't know you.
Yeah.
You're a stranger to me.
yeah.
Stranger danger.
Yeah. I have a different philosophy on touching because I'm just like, people are naturally curious. People want to touch. People want to touch things that they like are alluring.
Yeah.
So like, if people want to touch, I definitely tell them to ask. But like, if women come up to me and like touch my butt, because that's usually what happens.
Oh, yes.
I'm just like, do you like when men touch you like this? Like, I give them like a whole like reality check about it, and then I'm like, all right, now do you want to touch my butt? And like, yeah, I really do. And then
Like a little lesson before your actions.
Right,
yeah.
right.
I think there's like one rule that I think both like audience and drag performers need to start following a bit more, where stop gendering everything. Because like we joke around where it's like she, sis, and I'm like, okay.
Yes,
and like
queen,
that's fine, yeah. But it's always whenever I'm like around things, it's like these queens, tip these queens, and I'm like, I'm here, fuck my drag. Like
Right.
and like that bothers me so much, even though it's such a tiny thing, but it also like discredits
It's not
like
tiny,
a lot of
though.
people.
Yeah.
It's valid. It's
Yeah.
absolutely
it's-
valid.
yeah,
I
Because
don't-
like I've gone to so many shows where it's just I've it's like queens, 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 and I'm like, I'm here, I'm a king, I'm here, and people are going to come up to me now, say I'm a queen, and also think I'm a woman.
Yeah.
So it's a lot that happens, and it's a chain reaction, which a lot of cis performers don't realize that for trans people can be very detrimental.
Yeah.
But it also just like kind of like discredits, because it's like whenever I'm a king in a space where it's all queens, because most of the time I'm the only king there.
Yeah.
I'm very like proud to like go up there and be like, listen, all of you don't even know I exist, or you think you have this horrible like just kind of like view of drag kings because you think they're not good or something for some reason. So I love going up to people and be like, oh my God, I didn't know drag kings existed. It's like, oh my God, you're a drag king and you're like good. I'm like, awesome. Here's 50 other drag kings you can look at. Here's all these things. Like,
And
we've
there are
always
some
existed.
They're great performers.
many.
They're great performers, and
I get
there's
so
so
mad.
many of them. And it's mind-boggling
Yeah.
that people don't want to. If you're really a fan of drag, you would do a little bit of homework.
Somebody came up to me at a show once and was like, oh my God, you're a drag king. This is so new. I was like, girl, we've always existed.
Right.
Like, there
Right
are drag
there.
kings at Stonewall. There are drag kings all throughout drag history, but we've been pushed under because most of the time it was women doing drag.
Dominated.
So
It's
it was
dominated by
like,
queens.
it was
Right.
just kind of swept underneath again. And trans people and, you know, cis women and just a lot of things were swept under the rug if you weren't a cis man
Yeah.
doing drag. And unfortunately, it still is that way, but I'm very happy to see more and more like drag kings becoming prevalent. And, you know, like there was a funny little
Pussy.
my son. There was a funny tweet that Hey Queen TV put out where it's like, who do you think the future of drag is? It's like, tag a queen that you think is great, and a really amazing drag king called Androgen commented on. It's like, drag kings are the future, and I was like, yes. I was like, go after them. Like,
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people don't even know.
I get very mad sometimes when I just see like queen culture where it's like, yes, queen, like all these queens,
and it's
I'm
so
like,
prevalent right now with RuPaul's Drag
Yes.
Race.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It perpetuates
So
it.
it
dominated.
perpetuates it. And like in every show that I've been to, it's always been like, yes, queens, and just say
Right.
performers.
It
Right.
Like just say performers.
Yes,
Like
just say-
perpetuates the femme gender.
yeah,
The gender
and
too.
it pushes like the work that I do under a rug, and like every other king under a rug.
Yeah.
So it's very annoying to me whenever I see, you know, it's like queens only, and like tip these queens, and yes, queens, and we have all these queens for you. It's like, just say performer, like just
Right,
say that,
right.
please.
Because at the
Like,
end of the day, you're a performer.
Exactly.
That's like first and foremost.
yeah,
So
The language is just really important because subconsciously it just will imply
It
certain
defaults.
things.
yeah.
Even if you don't.
If you
necessarily
say
think that
it,
way.
then people would be like, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, got
Start
it.
thinking about it.
Right. Right. And that's what happened to me too. You were like, you know, there's more than just drag queens. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
no
Right.
shit. Like,
Once you start connecting the dots, it's like, right, performers.
Right.
It's fun though. Like once you start discovering more layers to drag, because the top layer is like Drag Race, women, yeah, and then you go like deeper and deeper, and you realize that these
The
things have
whole
always
world.
been there, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh my God, like this is amazing. Like a lot of people don't know about drag
Never ending
kings.
yarn
No.
ball.
Yeah, and like I remember the first drag king I ever saw was like Spiky Van Dyke, and I was
Oh,
like,
Spiky.
wow. And like, granted, I don't really like a lot of like very mass drag. He does it very well, and it's like funny to me. But I didn't know that people could do that. I didn't
Yeah.
know that like women or like trans men or like I didn't know that people could do it. I always saw it was cis men, and that was like years ago. Where now I'm like,
Spiky's
everybody could
transformation.
do it.
Spiky's transformation
Insane.
is that body
Insane.
transformation
That body.
is so
Crazy. Him and
wild.
Landon are
oh,
absolutely
Landon.
insane.
Landon. Ah,
Like definitely like those two kings have like been at the forefront of just
Absolutely.
like Landon especially just because
Landon
of, like,
especially.
he's not only masked, he does crazy characters, and like he's very artful in his performances where sometimes he'll be like, yeah, like Magic Mike number, but then sometimes he did a performance where
With
he
the Peter Pan
signed
one.
an entire like thing. I can't remember the name of the song, but
Wow.
he had a piece over his mouth, and it was because I forget the exact story, but I remember it was like for a few months he couldn't talk because they had some sort of like throat cancer or something, and it was
Wow.
about that. So he signed the entire song, and I'm like, that's absolutely amazing.
that's amazing.
And the look
Yeah.
was crazy. Like, I love when people discover other like forms of drag and are like fascinated with it and get excited for it. I'm like, where
Yeah.
can I find more of this? And I was like, here's all the resources. Here's all this.
No, you
Follow
guys
me on
have to
Instagram.
give
Like,
me all of the
we'll give you
all
the
these
tea.
people
We'll give
so I
you
can like
the
put it
tea.
out into the world. So closing out, because it's been 45 minutes. So how long do you guys think that you'll be in drag? Like you'll do drag, you'll perform. Where do you want to go with this? your performance? Like, what do you want to do next? What are your steps, if you even know?
Part of me doesn't see me stopping for a while. It's so enticing, and you kind of just don't know where the future is going to take you.
Right.
I personally, for us, like our little troupe of drag performers here in New Paltz, I definitely want us to start invading New York City a lot more.
Yeah, please come.
There's a
I
lot
wanna
of
see.
there's a lot of stigma about being like a New York City performer.
Right.
And it's like that's where the best of the best are.
Yeah.
And I've been to New York City, and I've seen
Excellent stuff.
I've seen some great things, and I've seen some like why wait
Like no present.
you're the finest here.
Right.
This is
Are
the
we
best of
sure?
the best.
And it's no shade to those performers, but like I would have to say less Westchester now, but like for a long time, the points from like New York City to Rochester was like the two big meccas in New York. Like you
Okay.
could go there, and that's
Yeah.
where you would see, like that's what people knew drag like for New York, especially New York City.
Yeah.
But like there's that whole gap in between, and we're part of that gap.
Right,
And they like every time we go somewhere, we show up and we show out.
Yeah.
And people are always just not only by our looks, but like I think definitely one of the most important things to me when it comes to drag is performance.
Absolutely.
I don't care how you look. I don't care what whatever the performance is, so long as it's executed well. Performance for me is just like bottom line. If you're doing that well, then
It's your presence.
work.
Yeah.
And we perform so well here. And every time we go somewhere else, we're always like, wow, your performance was so
Yeah,
good.
and I think it shows just in New Paltz as this little village that it is. Like I feel like so many people are obsessed with the drag community here, and I think that there was a reason for that. You know,
Yes.
it's like, oh, you going to a drag show? Like, why? Like everyone's gonna be there. You know, so. But yeah.
So the city, I definitely want us to take over the city a bit more, mostly just so they know this area exists, and
Right.
they know that we are here. Like, look out for us, because it's going to. You've got competition now,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be real.
Make the valley a renowned area.
Yes.
Where do you see your drag going?
I'm arriving at my 6th year, and
Wow,
6 is my favorite number. So maybe I'll stop here. No, I'm like obsessed with this. Like it's my favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
Like I eat, sleep, and breathe it. I'm always thinking about drag. I set goals in a very incremental way, where like just like smaller goals that are attainable and like an overarching long-term goal. And the one long overarching goal was like enhance my look and like be able to make things, which I have been doing successfully now for like a year and a half. So I have to like come up with a new longer term goal, but I think it's definitely just like reaching out to different areas more, gaining a bigger platform to speak and be heard on.
Yeah. I mean, we see you in Vogue.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Get back up in that bitch. And like just definitely drawing more spotlights towards the Hudson Valley.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And I'm just like open to whatever the experiences are. Like all of my drag career has been just like serendipitous, and things are coming and I'm doing it and saying yes to everything. And
Yeah. Yeah.
like-
As you should.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. How do you see you're more fresh than.
Very fresh.
Yeah.
I
Thanks
just
a
got
lot.
thrown out.
Not that you're not fresh.
Fresh
but
newborn baby.
Just learning how to walk. Just getting my legs.
Come away.
I definitely see myself doing this for a very long time. This is the first thing that I've done where I've like kind of feel like every aspect of my life has suddenly just like come to fruition, where it's like, oh, this is what you meant to do. Where it's like, you know, I can take art, I can take, you know, stupidity, I can take a whole bunch of things and just put it into one thing. And I definitely see myself doing this for a while. a long-term goal for me is to definitely like get more popular, but not in the way where it's like I want to be famous, but like
Right.
I want to be able to reach people, and definitely a big goal of mine is to educate those and use my platform where I definitely do use drag as like a therapy for myself almost, but
Yeah.
I love entertaining people. I love making people happy, and you know that's like my favorite thing to do. But I also want to inspire people, and I want like my favorite thing is when somebody will come up to me at the end of a performance and just kind of like have this moment with me and be like, "What you did really touched me," or "What you did was so amazing. Like I love this," or
That
like
is the best
I didn't
thing,
know this
yeah.
was happening. Or I've had a lot of trans men come up to me, or just trans people in general, be like, you sharing your story or you being up there like means so much to me, and
Yeah.
like I want to keep doing that, and I want to encourage people to do this, because even if it's just showing up to shows, or like if they want to do drag, like I want to inspire as many people as I can, because it's a beautiful art form and it's so free, and I want to educate people on that to be free.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a bigger goal of mine, to get bigger, educate, and definitely push myself. This a goal of mine this year is to just kind of move away from like because like the first year of my drag, I was like, I want to entertain people and I want people to like me. Where now I'm like, I know people like me, so and like now I've gotten
So
like
now
a
I really
confidence.
can
Yeah. So
kill
now
it,
I'm like,
yeah.
I want to do what I want to do. So I want to bring in more messages to my drag. I want to bring in more aspects of my own identity to my drag, and just really like push it and like see how far I can take this, because people don't believe me when I say I haven't been doing it for a year yet. I feel like I have like a few friends just like scattered about who are like saw me perform for the first time. They're like, oh my God, like how long have you been doing it? I was like, I'm like a few months or like a year or whatever, and they get mad at me. So they're like, fuck you. Like,
I know. Oh, I
good
feel
feeling.
that when I
So-
see like a 16-year-old and she's like an amazing artist.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck off.
like, it's really, like I really like it. It's like always like in good fun, but like
Yeah,
I'm
of
very
course.
excited to see what's like okay in like this year, because of like I'm very happy that I have the environment that I do, because I say a lot where it's like I feel like if I didn't do Star Drag and New Paltz, it would not be what it is, because
Right.
everyone here has been like, yes, like whenever I say an idea, they're like, yes, and here's like a tip to improve it, or like here's how you can push
Yeah,
it, and
we're
like
really
really
great-
family.
Yeah.
We're really family.
yeah, like
we help each other so
you told me
much.
like so much where it's like, oh, I think I should do this, and you're like, yeah, do it. I'm like, I don't really know, and you're like, no, do this, like definitely do all this, and like
Yeah.
you just being very political and like upfront with things, and like that inspires me so much. Like we always like take like I feel like everyone like has a message to like share,
Yeah,
or like
yeah.
whether it be experience or just something they want to stand on.
We're
and
storytellers.
we are storytelling. But I'm very happy that like I started Dragon New Paltz, because I feel like it would not be where it is and be able to evolve so rapidly. So I'm very excited to see where it's going to go this year.
Yeah. Cool. I've learned so much today.
Thank you for coming to our TED Talk.
Yeah. Thank you. Pleasure to be here. But seriously, thank you guys so much for doing this. Do you guys have any closing statements that you want the world? I've won Australia listeners.
Ooh. All right.
Hi, Australia.
Oh my gosh.
Just like gotta keep coming out. Go to a drag show if you've never been. Like
Yeah.
what we're doing makes us feel good, and we want to make you feel good.
Yeah.
And it's really important to just feel whatever it is
That you're
that's
feeling.
happening at a show.
Support
Yeah.
local
Yeah.
drag, support your performers.
Yeah.
You can definitely be fans of like the Real Girls and everybody else, but like, you know, if you can't, they're kind of expensive. See if there's
Yeah.
like local drag around you, because they always have like something to offer. So
Support your local drags who are in poverty.
yeah.
It's really nice.
Yes, that is
That
really
$50
nice.
they're saving for a big person that could pay for my dinner. That could pay for my bill. Please help me. I have testosterone bills. Please help me.
Yeah, literally.
LOL.
Okay, well, thank you guys again. I usually say goodbye to my sound guy, Will. So bye, Will. Does everyone say bye, Will?
Bye, Will.
Okay, thank you. Love you.